went all to pieces.
I can't wait to hear these little names.
Do you have, you're without a dog here? Yes, same. I can't find it. It's like 25 years out of it.
Well, and this Eric's, he had to go, flew out to Ohio today. And so now I'm like, he's usually right here when he's
Right.
here.
Right?
I mean, it's not rabbit. It's
I
not,
can't even post about
I
it.
can't pet him.
Well, you could, but it'd be kind of weird.
Sorry, but we're about a minute over our time. I'm trying to get everybody a chance to get here. This is the December City Council work session. It's now 6:31, and we'll get started with a roll call. All of the council is with us tonight. Your mayor is here, our city attorney and city manager is here, as is Natalie, our city finance director. We need a motion, please, to approve the agenda.
Mayor, I just
Sir.
had something come in last minute.
Okay.
The fire chief's printing off. We need to add a not to exceed 25,000 for an engine, for a fire engine. Needs to be repaired. He just got the quote as we're speaking. He's printing off a staff report now and hand deliver it to y'all.
So this is like a fire truck for 25,000?
Yeah, this is to rebuild a fire engine that's out of service. It's
Rebuild.
our primary fire truck, so it needs to be redone.
Okay.
Chief, if you would, just give him a copy, please. I'd like to add that to the agenda under public
Public safety?
safety. I'm sorry, 4C, thank you.
Thank you, young man.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the agenda with the addendum added to it for the fire engine.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, second. All in favor, please show by the raise of your hand.
What? Aye? We're not eyeing anymore?
Well, Patty wants to do it this way.
Oh, you want to do it this way?
Yeah, and the reason, so y'all will know, skips a little short of information, is because when you're watching on YouTube, you cannot tell how people are voting up here. So I thought that way the citizens can see how we're all voting. Thanks.
Okay, the agenda is approved. We'll move right into planning and development. Lisa Newberry.
Thank you, Mayor. We do not have anything, any cases to hear tonight for planning and development. As you know, our cases are dictated by the application process, so there was no applications in process to fall on tonight's meeting.
Well, you've been working overtime the last couple of months, so that's not all bad.
We do have 2 positions open on the Planning and Zoning Commission. If anybody would like to apply, to go to the city's website or stop by City Hall. And that is all we have.
Very good, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to Finance, Human Resources, Ann Hunsinger.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing actionable this evening. Thank you.
Okay, very good, Ann. Thank you. Move next to Public Safety Committee, Bill Duvall.
Bill Duval.
Bill Duvall, Melanie Long. I'll get you, Bill. You're on transportation, son.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just flip them.
What?
Just flip them.
That's fine. Chief Johnson, yeah, you're here. Just like everybody else, I saw this when y'all saw it with the agenda, so I had briefly spoken to Chief Johnson about this a few months ago, but I didn't, since I was on vacation this week. I did not have a chance to meet with him and ask a lot of questions or anything like that, so I've asked him to be here tonight just to go over what this is, why it's needed, and the importance of it. That way, anybody that has questions, including myself, we'll just do all that tonight. And I'll also let you go ahead and go over the not-to-exceed engine rebuild. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Good to see y'all this evening. I apologize for not being better prepared on the engine rebuild. I spoke with the shop this morning, and was the first time he had given me a rough estimate of how much the repairs on the engine would be. As far as that is, we had one of our fire trucks that's stationed at Tomborough Road started leaking a lot of oil, We saw a lot of oil in the floor of the bay and was having to add some oil, so we sent it to the shop, which is Haynes Enterprise and Winder. They're the ones that have been used to
Chief.
work on our big trucks for many years, and,
Can we go in order? Because you're on item 4C.
okay.
We're
Oh,
good.
I apologize.
Yeah, so the audience watching, they'll know what we're talking about. So
Okay.
item 4A, I'm sorry.
Okay, item 4A. So this is the purchase of the air packs. So most of y'all know, several of y'all have been come out to our training burns, and some have even worn the air packs before. But so we have SCBAs that we have to wear when we go into dangerous environments that's hazardous to breathe. And the packs that we have automatic aid agreement with other agencies because per NFPA standards, we do not have enough personnel to operate on fire scenes safely, so we need other additional personnel. And our packs have always been interchangeable. We've always been able to, we've had the same packs for many years. The new models that all the other departments have went to, they have a device on them. It's a hose that's connected to the shoulder strap that if anything happens to our air pack, we can hook to somebody else's air pack and utilize their air in their bottle for self-rescue or to get out. The new packs are not compatible with our outdated packs. So I would like for the council to approve for us to use SPLOST money to replace the air packs with the new version. I don't feel that it's feasible to do part of our air packs because I don't want mixed equipment on a fire scene. If somebody was to go in with somebody who's not compatible and something happens, then it would cause confusion in that. So that's the reason to replace all of them at one time. So the price would be to replace all of the air packs with the cylinders that go with them because they have a quick connection on the cylinders and the mask.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
Total amount?
Yes, sir. This is the total amount is $218,200.
Okay.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Just so we understand what it is. So there's 16 of these air packs, and you're getting, is that what it says? 16
Yes,
air
sir.
packs and 48
Yes, sir.
cylinders. So how does the,
So each apparatus, we have 4 frontline apparatus in the city. We have 1 at Station 18, 2 at Station 16, and 1 at Station 15. Each apparatus, per NFPA standards, have 4 packs on each apparatus. So the packs and each pack is, by standards, is supposed to have 3 reserves. So you have 1 in the pack with 2 reserves as far as the cylinders is concerned. It's not unfeasible for, on a, 50% involved structure for firemen to go through 2 to 3 air bottles on the scene. They come out of the fire, they swap their bottles, and they go right back in. So they're rated for 45-minute bottles, but that's if somebody was sitting in a chair, not doing work. Theoretically, you got probably about 20 minutes.
And I know when you and I spoke, I'm sorry, Ann, when you and I spoke a while back about this, there was something to do with the way they buckle in and everything, and this covers the way
Everything.
they strap in, the new buckles, the new.
Yes, ma'am. It's a new
This is-
harness. It's a completely new, from start to finish.
And you said like when you would go out, like, because we share with Gwinnett and Walton County,
Sure.
they're already on this new system.
Yes, ma'am.
We're not.
Yes,
So we can't, and you said a lot of times you might get out and you're using their tank.
Not uncommon for a Loganville fireman to go in partnered with a Walton County fireman. You have different crews that get exhausted, that needs to rehab and take a breather, and then there's still work to be done. So it's not uncommon at all for us to pair up with other agencies inside the structure. Before, it was not a problem because we had the same exact packs. So there's a hose attached that is a quick connect that you can say you get in too deep and you run out of air, you can take that and plug it into your partner, and you utilize the air in his tank. You both do that until you can get out safely. They have upgraded to the new pack style, which has the different quick connects and stuff, and ours will not connect with theirs.
Is there warranty on these or anything, or any, like, the other technology is old, and so
Right.
this is a new technology. Is this something that's a standard? You see it to be here for a while? Like, if we make an investment now, like in 2 years, is there something you see coming down the road that?
No, no, ma'am. I can tell you the newest packs that we currently have were bought in 2015. So they're 9 years, fixing to be 10 years old.
Okay.
And how long do these last?
They've lasted this long. They are exposed to extreme conditions.
I mean, the new ones, how long will they last?
I would say at least 10 to 15 years.
And will be compatible with the other agencies?
Yes, ma'am.
What will happen to our old equipment?
So I would like to, some of them are still good for us to use for training. You know, we do have to do live burns every year, and I would much rather utilize those and leave the new packs on the trucks ready to respond to an emergency versus the way it is now where we pull everything off the truck to train, and then if we catch a call, we have to have a delayed response trying to put all that stuff back together. Also, the sewer department and the water department, I've spoken to the director, and they only have one pack to go down in confined spaces on the plant and one pack to go into confined spaces in the sewer system. So some of our packs, I would like to let them utilize for those functions.
Okay.
Makes sense.
But and if we have a problem, is there like a standard warranty just within the first 2 years if there's any issues?
Yes, ma'am, there's a standard manufacturer warranty on the packs.
Okay. Ann, I think you had some questions.
Yeah, that you got one.
Okay. So, anybody else have any questions? I think there's a second. Do we need to say what we're gonna do on this, or you want him to tell about everything?
Let's do this one first.
Okay, I mean, this is a lot of money. Do y'all wanna just wait and just vote on it Thursday night, or you wanna put it on consent? Okay,
Consent?
Consent?
okay. All right, we'll put that on consent.
Okay.
Mhm. And then I think there's another part to it, Chief.
Yes, ma'am. So we also have the machine that is designed to fill the air bottles. Once we use them, they have to be tested every year for air quality and that sort. We currently have 2 in the city. One is at Station 18 on Old Loganville, and the other one is at Station 16, Station 15 on Lee Bird Road. The one at Station 15 is completely stopped working. It's completely out of service. We can't use it at all. It was manufactured in 1994. Tells you how old that machine is. It's been retrofitted several different times throughout the years. It was designed, when it was purchased, the compressor on it was designed to only fill a 2216 PSI bottle, and we retrofitted it to fill a 4500 PSI bottle. So it's been through the ringer. We've spent money trying to put new capacitors to help the compressor start on it, and it won't come on at all any longer. So I would like to also use SPLOST money to replace that machine, which is $71,904.
And is that you're just replacing one of them, the one that doesn't
Yes,
currently
ma'am.
work?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it in stock, or is this something like the fire trucks where we say yes today, and then it's 18 months from now, you're gonna get it?
I don't know how quick availability is. I know that they usually build these, so, because you can get, you can get as elaborate with it as you want to. You can get extra storage tanks, you can get extra stages in the compressor. This is the cheapest one that is comparable to the size that we currently have. So they would still have to come out, do a site survey, and build the machine for the specs that we have on site.
Are you able to fill the tanks now with just the one working at the other?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's not giving us any problems, we're being able to get that done?
No, we're just having to use it more often, so, obviously, the more use that you do, the more wear and tear you have on it.
How old
versus-
is that one?
That one's 2008. It was purchased with the station, when the station was built on Old Loganville.
Okay, so we're just buying the one to replace a 25-year-old one that's not working?
Yes, ma'am.
You know if there's a warranty on it?
Typical manufacturer warranty, 1 to 2 years is what we get out of it. We have to service it every year and do air quality tests on them. It's like with anything regarding public safety or the fire department. It doesn't matter what piece of equipment you have. Some technician has to come out every year and certify it and say it's still good.
And the price includes everything? You said they had to come out and do a
Yes,
site
yes,
plan?
that includes everything.
That's everything?
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
out the door?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
That's not a BOGO, is it?
No, sir, I tried.
Buy one, get one free.
I tried.
We need it.
That was only on the Black Friday sale we missed that.
Missed it.
Do you have any questions? I don't. Have any questions, Ann? No, Patty?
No.
Y'all want to put that on consent as well?
Everybody okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, now back to where you
Yeah.
started.
Okay, coming full circle.
Leaking oil.
So, yes, the truck started leaking oil really bad. We sent it to the shop to see if it just needed gaskets replaced. Unfortunately, on an engine of that size, the only way to completely diagnose it, they had to break the engine apart to see what was faulty in it, and that's when they found that the cylinder sleeves inside the block had dropped and caused it to leak oil out of the head gaskets. So the only repair to it is to rebuild the engine.
Is that a common problem? I mean, I'm looking, that's 2050. How many miles are on that fire truck?
I don't have that in front of me,
So
unfortunately.
I'm looking at just a 9-year-old vehicle.
It's, it must be a problem because when I called him, he said all the parts were in stock to rebuild it. And he said that it's a Cummins engine, is the manufacturer of it. And he said that if I sent it to Cummins, we would be looking at $30,000 to $40,000 for a rebuild on it.
Did he give you a estimated turnaround time?
He didn't. It's tore apart in his shop right now.
Okay.
And all the parts are in stock. So as soon as I call him with the go-ahead, they'll get the parts on the way and start putting it back together. But with the holidays and everything, I'm
Right.
sure we can expect a couple of weeks longer than normal.
Okay. Do y'all have any questions? Questions?
2-year warranty, Melanie. That's always your
Oh, well, I
question.
know, that is my question,
It
but
does
I
come
saw
with-
that down there.
It does come
warranty
with a 2-year
advertised.
warranty.
Well, I want to know, you know?
It's not a bad question.
Y'all want to put that on consent as well? We got to have it. It's all took apart in somebody's shop right now. Consent, we're good?
Everybody okay?
All right. And the only other thing, oh, just on a personal note, I personally, since we're sitting here and it just popped into my mind, I'd like to thank Loganville Ford for the very generous donation that they made to this city for the decorations at the town green.
Yes, they did.
I think that was incredible. I've gone down there and spoken to Lance myself to let him know how much that was appreciated. I think Joanne Byrne, and your husband Dustin Riccardi. Tara Argo on the DDA was fantastic in heading all that up and getting everything ordered and getting that done. Patty, I believe you were there all day. Tara's kids were there. And I just want to thank everybody for putting your money where your mouth is and going out and just pitching in. I would like to see a committee, maybe a citizen decoration committee. And our citizens were thrilled to be involved. And I'd like to see moving forward, more citizens get involved. And we get out and we go out and some of the business would like to help. So I personally want to, before I forget that, because I may forget it Thursday, I want to thank Loganville Ford and Joanne and her husband and Patty and Tara for all the work you did. Thank y'all.
It was very nice, very nice.
And that is all I have.
Okay, very good, Melanie, thank you. Public Utilities, Transportation, Bill Duvall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a few items on the agenda tonight. The first one on the agenda is 211 Covington Street Stormwater Facility. So, as you recall, we had Precision Planning developed a plan. It went out to bid, so we received for developing that, removing the old house and developing the stormwater facility. So there were 6 bids received. Precision Planning, our engineer, has gone through this along with the city. The lowest responsive bid was by Civil Construction and Utilities for $536,450. So just to recap on that, so we agreed that we would split the cost of that line item. In your packet shows $268,225 would be from our ARPA funds, and then the other $268,225 effectively is coming from the library project. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions on this.
Sure.
And I don't even know where to start. Being that I live right next door, a lot of times when I'd go out, I would see engineers over there. So I was fortunate enough to get to speak to multiple engineers that were over there looking at the project. And I don't know if we ever, as we've talked about this over the months, said how much we were willing to put into this. Because I said from the beginning that detention pond was going to be anywhere from $600,000 to $800,000. And right now, we would be at $747,450. So I was dead bang on where I thought it is. And we still haven't addressed all the costs that will be associated with that. And while I do understand that we're splitting it 50-50 with the library, there's some things that still haven't been addressed. As I said, since I met with some of the engineers that walked the property with me, explained to me, I'm not sure anybody sitting up here understands the magnitude of this project and how large that project is and what the impact is going to be in our downtown area. This project isn't just on that 0.57 acres that we purchased. This goes all the way up to Pecan Street. So when you keep talking about 254 Main Street, your project that you want a shop at the end and 4 or 5 cottages, when you build this detention pond, you kill essentially a good portion of that property. So I believe that part of the cost that needs to be factored in to the cost of the library, because that is, again, property that, once again, will not generate any tax revenue. It will be something that we've just completely given away to something. And that property has an intrinsic value. And I'm not going to be okay with, we go, well, we think it's worth $12,000, or we think it's worth this. I think that property needs to be appraised and an actual dollar amount put to the amount of property we're going to lose by doing this detention pond. And also, when I discussed it and we walked it and we looked at it, we haven't even begun to address the erosion of the creek that's going to occur with the amount of water that's going to come through that detention pond. I asked most of the engineers that I spoke with, I said, what happens as you're digging and you hit water? Some of them said we stop right then and we re-engineer, things like that. Some of them said we just keep digging and it just becomes more like a little lake with a constant runoff. My property backs up to that creek. And when I bought that creek nearly 30 years ago, from my fence line to the bank of the creek was about 10 feet. After 30 years of immense runoff and water, because it takes the runoff from 78, takes when they empty the water tank for maintenance, yearly maintenance, they drain all that through the creek. All the immense amount of water that runs through that creek as is has never been addressed. And there are places along my backyard where I'm down to only 3 feet. So I've lost 7 feet of erosion. And now you're going to dump all the runoff from a library where you've clear cut and cemented and asphalted it up, Main Street, whatever you end up putting on 254, all the additional water you're going to run. And if they hit water, which is very likely, you haven't addressed what's going to happen to that creek. And when my barn and my backyard falls into that creek from further erosion, who's responsible for that? So we need to look at that. The other thing about this detention pond, because the engineers that I spoke to, they didn't know why they were there to build a detention pond in the middle of a residential neighborhood. They didn't know why they were doing that. And when I told them about the library, every one of them asked me the same question. Why aren't they looking at putting in underground detention? I said, the only answer I've ever been given is the library says they can't afford underground detention. One of them started laughing. He said, underground detention is going to be cheaper, cleaner, and less maintenance to build than a above-ground detention pond. He said, you're not going to have mosquitoes. It's going to be more attractive. He said, you're killing property value as well. I've talked to realtors. You're killing the property value of the homes in the area there. And I would like, do we have a quote for underground detention? Do we know why the library said they couldn't afford it, how much it was going to cost? And if we're going to split detention 50-50 with the library, and the last time I heard anything about underground detention from the library, I heard a figure of $375,000. I'd rather split $375,000 with the library than I would. We're at $750,000, and we still haven't addressed other things like how much money the Pecan Street property is worth, what we're going to do about the creek when the commercial property behind me, when part of their property falls in there, and just the sheer magnitude of this project. At its deepest point, this detention pond is going to be almost 10 feet deep. Up along Pecan Street, they have to dig that down 6 feet. It's a massive hole in the ground in a city that you claim that you want to be a walkable, livable downtown. The man across the street from me paid $250,000 for just one of the homes that he bought. He's put, I would venture to guess from what I've seen him doing and going inside and touring it, he's probably put $150,000, $175,000 in that home. I don't believe for 1 minute that man would have spent over $400,000 on a home if he thought his view was going to be a overgrown detention pond. I just don't think he would have done that. I think when you clear cut all those old pecan trees and you expose Ms. Meyer's home next door, her property value decreases. I think the houses along Pecan Street will suffer. So I want to compare apples with apples. I want to know how much it's going to cost to put in underground detention. And I want to know how much I want an appraisal value of what the property is that we're giving up. Because again, it's not just the 5.57 acres that we purchased. You're losing a good portion of the property on Pecan Street. And I'm going to leave it there because I'm sure other people have questions, but I will reserve the right to ask more questions.
Sure, just a few points to say too. So I think the architect's estimate was somewhere around $350,000. I think you said $375 or whatever to do the underground retention. It's probably somewhere in the ballpark what we're saying. If it is total, when you add up the property, the cost we've got invested in this, it's close to $750,000. Like you said, you split that, you're pretty close to what the library was going to pay to start with. And then, so beyond that, it does end up being a benefit for development downtown. Now, you approach question about additional erosion. Not going to say erosion won't happen, but the premise of the detention pond is to capture the water and be able to release it in a slower, steadier pace, so that it's as much that can be absorbed, and it can not be overloaded onto the streams below. But as certainly as we develop the downtown, there's going to be additional runoff, and it's not additional in the fact that the runoff today is the same. It's just going to be pulling it into one area and letting it meter itself out. They are using, for portions of it, they're following our design standards, which is, what we wanted. We're going to try to do the best we can within our code. Kind of just a few observations.
Do you know, it might be Danny to answer this, Melanie, instead of you, how much land on Pecan Street is gonna be absorbed? Any idea?
By the drawings, it looks just, it comes into it just a little bit, but I can find out if I can get exact square foot. I'll just see if I can find out by tomorrow.
I just wonder, you know, DDA is now working towards 254 and on down Pecan Street. Would that impact that development?
It could, depending
potentially?
on how much property they take, yes. But you're gonna have to have stormwater when you build anything, so.
I think the concept is, just from looking at their plans, it squares it up, or my words, I was just measuring it for you. Looks like it's about a little bit of a quarter of an acre of what I'll call the 254 lot. I'm not the engineer, I don't know, but I'm just looking at it. I think the concept, though, is that then the 254 development is gonna have the ability to feed into this detention pond. Now, whether or not they've pre-engineered that extra capacity or not, I don't know. But you can see on the drawings that there is some of the slope that comes into that 254 North Broad lot. And it does because of y'all's, what I call your light slope ordinance. It makes it not be a deep, traditional detention pond.
Would the underground, Paul, be able to be used at 254 and on down?
So I'm not an engineer, but this is the general rule that I've always been taught and seen in projects. Underground detention is usually double or more the cost of traditional detention, open ditch detention facilities. I mean, when you get underground detention facilities, usually, just in my experience, you're looking at double the cost. So a downtown project in Monroe that I know that was done by a private developer, they had no other choice but to do detention. It was actually a client of mine, and the cost was exorbitant. So I don't know where the $375,000 figure came from. I don't know, but the only thing I do know is that normally what you're told is that traditional detention pond work is the cheapest way to go. Underground detention is much more expensive.
I would probably agree with you, but we're digging up roads and putting in pipes and putting in a thing that'll pump the water from Main Street down there. And again, I met with multiple of these engineers, and every one of them said the same thing, that in this particular case, underground detention is gonna be way cheaper. I mean, like I said, we haven't even factored in any of the other costs, plus we're gonna have forever maintenance on this thing. You're already at $750,000. And again, you ask the library anything, you never get a straight answer. The only answer I ever got about underground detention was somebody threw out the number of 375. And if we're gonna split detention with them, heck, let's split 375. That gives them money back in their pocket on their library. Instead of splitting $1 million.
375 was only, that detention was only for the library site.
Correct.
It did not include the other acreage for
But
the
we
town
haven't
green.
built anything at this
Yeah.
point that requires further detention.
So what engineers did you talk to? Because when I talked to Precision Planning, this is what they recommended, and you're saying they saying something different. Was it
I'm talking
Precision
about
Planning?
some of these guys that came out and did the bids.
Okay,
Well, I call them engineers. I
okay,
don't know what they
contractors,
are.
okay.
Contract,
So our engineers, this is
No,
what
so,
they.
yeah, well, they
Okay,
said
just
they
make
were
sure
the
we're
engineer
clear on
for their
that.
construction firm.
Okay.
And they're the ones that write the bids, and I think they would know what they're talking about if they're the ones that go out and bid different detention.
Our engineer's the one that wrote the bid. They did the bid packet.
Have,
and
so
sent out the
does
bid. Yeah.
Precision do they have a quote for underground detention for the library?
No, that was provided through the library's architect.
No, because I mean, you'd have to engineer that all. I
Right.
mean, you could, I'm sure that engineers could spitball it a whole lot better than any of us sitting up here or anybody at the library board could. But the industry is going to tell you, I don't care, first of all this water is gravity flowing. It's all stormwater. It's all gravity flowing to the lowest point. But the industry is going to tell you, underground detention is exorbitantly more expensive on the front end and significantly more expensive on the long-term maintenance. It is.
I'm not gonna argue with you. I spoke to the guys that do the work, and they all said in this instance, it would be much cheaper for the library to have put in underground detention, so we'll agree to disagree on that.
The problem I see with it honestly is if we don't go the direction we're headed, then we're gonna end up fairly quickly having to do 3 underground detentions. and no telling what those three collectively would cost.
Well, the city won't be buying. If somebody buys 254 and they need detention, that would be their responsibility again. This is only a special situation because we're dealing with the library.
Well, the town
We wouldn't
green
be
is certainly
dealing with this.
ours. The town green would certainly be ours. I don't know how much it
Well,
would
we
take.
haven't built a town green. I don't even recall voting on a town green.
Correct.
I do recall us.
We've
I
had-
do recall us discussing it.
Discussing it,
This is
correct.
one of the baby steps to get to downtown development. We're trying to look down the road, not trying to decide on what's happening right now today that we can or cannot use. And I think we also gave one of you guys made the motion to not exceed whatever, to go out and explore the retention pond, not the underground. Correct? So that's why we didn't investigate the underground, because that's what we voted on.
How much was it engineering fees to do this piece?
This was 49,000.
Hold on, I'll tell you. 46,819. That's your
46,893.
And I'm assuming that Precision Planning did the engineering because we voted in March and in June to send them that direction, correct?
Correct,
So it feels like we're rehashing something we voted on 6 months ago?
correct.
Okay.
The only caveat I would add to that, 6 months ago, we didn't know the cost. We now know the cost, and sometimes hindsight's 20/20. After you find out some of the particulars of something, you might want to step back and reevaluate. I don't know about this. I kind of don't know what would be wrong with getting a bid.
I don't understand why we can't find out so we can compare apples with apples.
Because a bid is free, right, Danny?
That was you're
No, a
right.
bid?
No.
I would have to spend another $50,000 to get a
the
set of
engineer?
plans drawn to see, and then go out to bid.
Just like they did the
Our
first-
engineer told us this would be the cheapest route versus underground. The same person that did this precision planning.
Well, and Melanie, I might suggest that the people that you talk to want to do underground detention because they're the ones that get paid. And if it's double the cost, they make a lot more money if it's underground rather than,
No, they told me it would be cheaper for that particular project, that one. Not always is it cheaper, but they said that rather than digging the road up and doing this and building all that. And they said plus just the location of it and
yeah, but the pipes are separate, aren't they, Bill? I mean, all this pipe work we're doing up here in the stormwater replacement, that is somewhat separate. I mean, it feeds it all, but that's just pipe that needs to be replaced, correct?
No. They're putting that pipe in specific, they're gonna cut off, they've gotta dig up the whole, I don't know, I don't do north, south, east, and west. The side of the road across the street from me, from the library all the way down, will be completely dug up and a big pipe put in. Down at the lower corner of the library, there's a little collection pool where I don't know if it's mechanical or if it's gravity, but it'll pick it up and it'll send it down that pipe. They're cutting off all the sewer there at the corner of Covington and Bobby Boss. That gets cut off. Then they have to dig up Bobby Boss and put in all new, there'll be 3 drains, 2 big ones and 1 small one underneath. Small one underneath is for the continuous water that runs all the time. And then the 2 big ones for when it fills up. So the only thing they're collecting now, the only thing they're building to collect is the water coming from the library. They're not building pipes along Pecan Street or anything else. They're just putting in the pipes strictly for the library.
Well,
And-
given the fact, this is right next to your property.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you're very much against it. Can you be objective and vote? Is that a reasonable?
Absolutely. But the thing is, I've said from day one, if you'll remember, it doesn't belong there.
You got outvoted then, so you're gonna complain
Right, but I
now?
mean, we're kind of.
Yes,
going-
Brandon, I am gonna complain now because I'm a voice of the people and the
that's fine, I
people that
get
live in the
that.
area.
And I think
we
we're
should-
all.
You gotta
we're
be
all the voice
snotty
of the
with
people.
me.
We should have had this discussion 6 months ago.
We should have, but y'all don't listen to anything.
We did listen then, and we
No, you
decided
don't.
to go elsewise.
That's right,
And
and
this
you've
is
got
the
the
way we're
votes
going.
now. You've
All right,
you
let's get
probably
back
got
on
the
track.
votes.
I guess we'll take this, our precision planning group, which has done a hell of a lot of engineering for us over the years, has always been there and stood tall. I guess we'll just wait till Thursday night and take a bid, take a vote. That's all I know to do.
Can I ask a question, Melanie? So when these guys are out there, what time frame was that?
Well, what morning,
that 2
what
weeks
was when
ago? Was that
Shane
6?
Short, well, when was Shane Short, with the breakfast we had Was that November 26th,
19th, I think.
19th? So it was all around that.
Did you bring this to anyone's attention at that time?
Did I do
Just
what?
Bring your discussions with them to anyone's attention at that time, rather than wait until tonight?
Nope, I waited till tonight. Any more questions?
I just think that I'd like to have done this a few weeks ago when you knew.
Okay.
Well, I'm just concerned, honestly, with the cost of 3 underground detentions, which is what we probably would have to do if we went another direction. I don't
Are
know
you
any
in
other
it?
way
I
around
mean,
it.
you're
Do you,
saying
Danny?
that, but you don't know. We haven't even addressed what would be built at 254.
No, but we're planning for the future. That's all you can
Correct.
do.
I remember a lot of discussions about the town green, which we don't know. It's just what we're going to do in the future, and we're trying to plan for that as well. It's baby steps to get to there.
I hear you.
Didn't we ask for an RFQ on that at one point for the town green?
Yeah, I think we did, Brandon. I
Yeah,
don't think it
so-
ever happened,
No.
though, did it?
It's happened, I have it.
Oh,
I just,
I know. We just
I
have,
want to get through the library before I submit other stuff. I do have a lot of stuff. Back to this, I was given a directive, to get a retention for the 4-acre tract. That's what you have before you. If you do underground, above ground, you're gonna have pipes no matter what. Water's gotta get through the pipes. You're gonna have to upgrade the downstream with the underground retention. You're gonna have to add pipes to the library site to get the water from the library site to the underground retention or the above ground. So either way, you're gonna have pipes. I can just tell you what the engineers tell me. Underground is always more than above ground. If the city council tells me Thursday to go get another bid or another project from an engineer, I'll be more than happy to do it. But it's gonna be in excess of another probably 40, 50,000. This was discussed with Precision Planning when we first met. What's the cheapest route? This is what we were told.
one of our biggest hurdles for downtown development is water retention. Monroe got it lucky, they're on top of a hill. We're in the valley. So every property that gets developed would have to have some kind of retention. And how many retention ponds do you want all downtown? Because I doubt anybody would seriously consider wanting to build in downtown if they have to pay as much upfront cost for underground retention. So if we have a pond that they can pay into or pay some kind of fee or something like that to use it, that makes it easier to build downtown and entice people to come downtown. Yes, it's gonna take up some of the 254 land, but it all flows, water flows to the lowest point. So it's something as easy as putting a trench in. In the original plan that me and Skip did when we were on the LDA, it was underground retention. We didn't do a cost study or anything on it, but they warned us then, this project might not be super feasible because of the underground retention was so expensive. So,
How many more pieces of land are there downtown that can be developed?
well, there's 254 that could go into it and the lot that isn't being used next to the library. So even those pipes,
but that's the
Say
town
it's a
green, right,
park.
Brandon? Town
yeah,
green there.
say we look at the RFQ from Danny for a new town green and we like it. It's a lot less permeable, or it's very permeable because it might just be like a lot of grass and stuff like that, so it might not handle a lot. We don't know that yet, yes. But if we go ahead and plan for it now, say we underbuild something, then we got to redo it later. So if we go ahead and build a pond now that looks at the incoming growth of downtown development, this is what it looks like. This is planning it all ahead, putting it on paper, putting it in the ground to make it easier for future builds on that side of the street. So I think it's necessary to do this because if we are serious about doing downtown development, which I believe we all are, we have to have a place for the water to go. And you're not going to entice anybody here, I'll reiterate that fact, that has to do underground retention on 254 Main. So if they have to take out one cottage to do that, I don't know. I mean, that seems like a very reasonable ask for me.
If we don't do the town green, Brandon, and do actually commercial property to bring in some revenue to the city, which was a good thing, why would we not get the developer to pay for the detention pond and then deal with it like that? Because it seems to me the developer is the one that should be paying for that.
So the library is paying us for their part of it, correct? So say a developer at 254 comes and builds, they will pay for their part of it as well. So we'll still be getting our money back on this retention pond. Same thing if it's, say, 250, say the other half of the library lot is gonna be whatever we decide is gonna be, and they're gonna have to use that lot or use that retention. They will then have to pay their fair share of it, or maybe even pay to upgrade it at that point. We don't know yet because we don't know what's going there. But it's better to go ahead and plan ahead for stuff like this instead of not at all. And I know we all just redid our retention, so it's 4-to-1 slope. They're not the ugly ones that no one ever gets maintained. This will be maintained by city employees that do a great job of what they do. And who knows, this could be like a little pocket park or something. I asked Danny earlier, I go, we kind of kid around about it, because oh, we put something in there, it might rust. But no, they make products and stuff that could possibly go in there. It could be a little pocket park or something that is actually very attractive. People that live next to it might want to come over there and utilize it as, you know, they could walk a walkable downtown. They could walk right to a park right across the street. Are they going to be playing with it in it when it's raining and it has a few feet of water in it? No. But they ain't going to be out there anyways playing in the rain. But when it's dry outside, they could use it as a park. And that's one of the reasons why we redid our stormwater, was to have them not ugly, deep pits with fences all around them. That's really hard to maintain. These are made where Z-turns can just go right in there, make it look good.
I've never seen a pretty detention pond,
On
but
that.
I do recall our discussions were to make it look nice and pretty and somewhat of it a park, make it look like a park. And I do remember our discussions are too, that as we build out Main Street, we're going to do it in phases, the library, the town green, where's the water going to go? And, you know, I don't know what's next after that, but to me, this just is falling right in line with what our discussions have been.
Yes. So we'll bring this up, discuss it Thursday.
Yep. Thank you, Bill.
Okay?
Next item on our agenda is the stormwater replacement project. Back, oh lordy, back in March, Brandon had selected capital recovery projects that were top priority. That's what in these, and I'm sorry, I'm just losing it here. These, yep, all right. Yeah, these 4 sites are stormwater pipes that are metal pipes that are rusting. For instance, the one there at Oak Drive is starting to fail itself. And so these are top priority projects. So Precision Planning set up designs to replace them so that we don't have, an event like we had last year over at Breckenridge. And so they went out to bid. We received 7 bids. The lowest bid was from Dickerson Group out of Lawrenceville for a bid of $455,385. Any discussion, question on this?
And that's what I was talking about when I said these other 4 are just replacing the pipe. That's what I meant in the prior discussion. So I'm good with that.
Okay.
I got just one question, I think, again, for Danny. Do you foresee any more pipes? I don't know how you find these. I mean, I guess, what are people constantly inspecting to see if, so this would be it at least for a while, maybe, hopefully?
These are the top 5
Okay,
that need to be replaced now.
okay.
There are more.
5 or 4?
4. There was 5, but we've already took care of one. These were his top pipes that need to be replaced. There are several more out there. Corrugated metal pipe, that was big material that was used back in the 90s, 2000, 20-year life. It's coming to
It's
a
been
head.
come and gone.
And that's why we've, in 2000, I believe, 18 or 19, the city council changed the ordinance to where you could not use corrugated metal onto roads. It has to be concrete pipe or plastic, so this is what this is plastic.
Do we know where we've got that
We
type
do,
of pipe?
they inspect them.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're
Anything that goes
keeping
under a road,
watch.
yes, they keep an
Okay.
eye. Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
You know the life expectancy of the plastic versus the concrete?
I think concrete and plastic's the same, 50 years. Of course, it's all based on how it's installed, but in theory, it's the same. I'll confirm that with an
Well, because I
engineer.
know when you want to put in a driveway and you come to fill out a application at the city requires concrete.
Concrete, there is a substitution. We do allow sometimes to put, it's called high density, it's HDPP, thank you, HDPE pipe. That can be a substitute, but that's based on an engineer's recommendation. If it's a state road, they do require concrete. Anything with, excuse me, with a city road is concrete, but we have allowed HDPE in like retention pond areas, but no more corrugated metal, period, unless it's a private development.
So, everybody okay with that if we put it on consent? Mhm. With that, Mr. Mayor, I don't have any other actionable items.
Okay, very good, Bill, and we'll discuss the other again Thursday night. And now we'll go to Public Works Facilities Committee, Patty Wolf.
This is a good one. Y'all gonna like, at least I loved it. The intersection of C.S. Floyd and Logan Street, where they've got that big dip when you turn right to get onto Logan and your car gets down in that, or, you know, it's been there for, I don't know, a long time, Danny. It's been bugging me. It's gonna be fixed. What I'm asking for tonight is, what Jeremy wants, is $21,629 with a 5% contingency of $1,081 for a total of $22,710. And then I'm hoping, Jeremy, you might be able to confirm this, that when you turn there from, after it's fixed, it'll be flat and you won't have to worry about that hole. I love it, okay. There's 2 invoices attached because it's 2 different types of work that have to be done, but they do total the $21,629. Any questions?
We tried to make that better a couple of times.
Yeah, I
Maybe this will
remember
be the
that,
final
and it
fix.
just never worked. So hopefully this will be it, and we don't have to get our cars out of alignment anymore. So this is good. Do y'all mind if I put this on consent? Everybody okay?
Everybody okay? Consent it is.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Patty?
That's it, thank you.
Okay. Now we'll move to Economic Development Committee, Brandon Whitfield.
Thank you, Skip. I have no actual items tonight.
Okay, thank you, Brandon.
I'll talk about the parade some on Thursday.
Okay. Now we move to City Manager's Report, Danny.
Just happy to be here, Mayor.
Yes, I know he's not feeling well.
We can
Not
tell.
feeling well today. And then we'll move on to the city attorney's updates. Paul Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. Got one item for you for your consideration for this upcoming Thursday, if you so choose. That is the library construction IGA. I know y'all are familiar with it. We've been working on this for a long time. Miss Andrea Gray is here on behalf of the library board as well as several other folks from the various important library world. I'll give you a 5-second overview, and then I'll be happy to let Miss Andrea be available to give you information or answer any questions that you may have, because I'm sure there are some as it relates to this. This is the construction IGA. So go way back. We did the concept IGA back in November of '23, I believe it is. Then we did the design IGA earlier this fall. And then this construction IGA just simply spells out how the money doles out and confirms the selection that the library board took of the general contractor to build it, which is Garland. They did that after a bid tabulation matrix from the architects, relying on the architect's scoring sheet. And The bid came in under the 5.7, but when you take the construction plus some of the additional costs, then you're over that 5.7, so there is a shortfall. The contract addresses that. It gives the design committee the ability to scale back the project if they so choose. That design committee is composed, of course, both folks from the library board and folks from the city, as well as Mr. Nate, who works with the state on libraries. And it anticipates that they're going to get building on this in the first part of 2025, and they're going to be finished with it before Christmas or around December 2025. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and then Miss Andrea is here as well. She's happy to speak with y'all or answer as many questions as y'all would like as well. If it's all right with y'all, I'll just invite Miss Andrea on up.
Works for me.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lovely to see you on this December evening. Thank you, Paul, for that introduction. You did a great job of it's not on.
That's mine, yeah.
Working now? Good? Okay, great. All right, well, again, it's nice to see you all this evening. We do have quite a crew here from our library friends. We've got Stacy Brown, the Executive Director of the Azalea Regional Library. We've got our architectural representative, Will Bryant, who can answer questions about the bidding process and the cost estimates and whatnot. And then, of course, Mr. Nate Rawl from the state, who this afternoon told me he has built over 100 libraries in Georgia. So he certainly knows what he's doing, and we have the benefit of having him here tonight. Not all of us can come back on Thursday, so if you could, we'd encourage you to ask any questions you have tonight. Like I say, I think we've got at least one person here that can answer anything that you want to talk through. So Paul did give you a quick overview of the construction IGA, which again is a third in a series of 4 IGAs that we had planned for this project. This one is relatively simple. It lays out the order in which funds will be utilized. So first, the funds from the state grant, the $3 million, those will be used completely. Then we will use the City of Loganville funds, the $1.5 million. And then finally, we'll draw down the Walton County funds of $1.2 million. So that's the order it will follow. The draw process, also pretty simple. It's a reimbursement process. So the library will pay the contractors for the work that's being done. Then we'll submit a draw request to the appropriate party showing the invoices, proof of payment, and then there was a draw sheet as an attachment to the IGA. So that will be filled out, submitted to the appropriate party, and then payment will be made back to the library using ACH transfer. So that is how that should flow. That should be a pretty streamlined process for all of our teams involved. Also included in the IGA is, again, a statement that we have awarded the contract. Again, it was a competitive bid process that started in October, wrapped up in November. Ultimately, 7 firms bid on the project, which was great, had a lot of interest in it. Our construction committee team, and with the benefit of our professional architect here, opened all the bids, went through them, made a decision matrix, very thorough analysis, and ultimately they selected Garland and Associates at a bid of $5.23 million, which again was under our original budget. Additional fundraising. We've got a $1 million application in for another state grant. So that's been submitted. We'll know if we receive that by the end of the legislative session, which is, around the Masters time, because the legislatures don't like to work over the Masters week. And then if that money is awarded, it'll be in hand by July 1st. That's when that fund would come through. The Friends of the Library have been very hard at work. They've only had the site plan or the renderings for 2 months. And as of Friday, they told me they have raised $105,000, which for a grassroots effort and only having drawings for 2 months, I think is incredible. They've got a lot of other feelers out there. They're reaching out to key stakeholders in the community. They've got some applications in process. So that is a continuing process in addition to the state grant that we've applied for to help towards that $2 million goal that we've always had towards additional fundraising. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions you have, and like I say, I'll try to moderate and then bring up our experts to answer your specific questions.
Any questions?
I have a lot, but I don't want to filibuster, so if anybody else on the panel has any,
We don't want you to filibuster.
I know. But
I mean, I have questions. I
I
mean,
will
we
go
can,
I will be
we can,
glad to go last,
yeah,
and
we
that
can
way
do whatever
everybody
you want to do.
doesn't
I have a
to
good
sit
many
and-
questions myself.
I just would like to ask, we talk about things on decisions that have not been made. If we've already made the decision and decided to move on, let's just, please don't go back and rehash.
I'm not making any promises.
I'm
I've
not
got
either. I
questions that I'm
mean,
going to ask.
my question may lead to something that needs to be rehashed, or I may need to point out what was said before, so.
Well, the truth of the matter is, on Thursday night, we're going to be voting only on the library construction IGA.
Correct.
So that
we
should
can hash
confine
it out
us
tonight.
to a degree. Okay, who wants to go first? Patty, go ahead and go. Roll it.
Y'all go ahead. If y'all don't ask something we want to ask, we'll go after.
Oh, you go after me? Oh, gosh.
Meaning, no, what
No,
I mean.
I can handle it.
You know
That's
what?
all
No,
right.
no, you know.
Paul goes after me
I
every
will
time
go-
I send him an email. I can handle
will go
it.
after you in order, meaning if y'all miss it.
Oh, are you sure?
If
Because
you and Melanie don't ask
I
something that
know.
you want to ask, we will go
What's one,
following.
after me.
Lord, I wouldn't,
I have a question on the
hey, I think
bid.
we just throw a pool out there and mud
Maybe
wrestle. I
you
think
are,
it'd be a lot
I
more
don't know.
productive.
Yes, ma'am, you have a question about the bid, the process?
I'm not familiar with it, and I got a copy of it this afternoon, and I, reviewed it.
Absolutely. Let me
and I
call
got a
up
few
Will
questions.
Bryant, who oversaw that process
Thank
for us. Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Let me tell you what, I'm on the allowance form, if you know, the pages aren't numbered, so let me see if I can help you a little bit.
Which allowance, which company are you looking at?
Oh, the one that you accepted.
Okay, Garland.
Okay, now I lost my count, it's your fault. Do you know where the allowance form is pretty readily?
I can get to it pretty
Okay.
quickly. Almost there, guys. Unit prices. Are you talking about alternates or allowance? You're talking
Allowance form,
about
it's
allowance.
document,
Sorry, yes.
you got it,
Sorry, I was looking for alternates.
Oh, that's all right.
Allowance. Yep,
ready?
yes.
What, off the top, what's the difference between base bid and bid supplement? Am I looking at the supplement as opposed to, are they different?
So the purpose of that form is to allow the contractor to more clearly specify where their allowance is going to. If it's a part of the base bid, or, which means that the allowance is included in the overall number that they
In the
applied on the.
5,000,002.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Or whether it is subtracted from that, and if it's not used, then it's not included in the base bid. And in this particular instance, Garland said it was a part of the base bid.
Okay, so that number A and B, where it says, include the sum of 20,000 for LED monumental sign, that's included in the 5.2.
Yes, ma'am.
And the second one that has the 3,000 for something, lump sum allowance to include for plaque.
Yes.
That's included.
Yes.
Okay, that, I was confused on that. Now, if you, on my copy, if you just go to the next page that says unit prices, I don't know how you've got yours lined up.
Yes, and I. But
It's
yes,
okay.
unit prices.
Yes. Now, down number A, where it says removal of unsatisfactory soil and replacement, is that in addition to the bid, to the 5.2 million?
Yes.
Should
so-
that happen?
Yes, so what the unit prices are, if they encounter something as they're digging that they don't know what it is, and we don't know that it's there.
Okay.
And what it allows us to do, sorry, my voice is going too right now, but what it allows us to do is fix that cost so that as they're going along, we don't get charged an astronomical change order number. What they can do is give us a quantity for what they've encountered, and then we have a measurable way and say, okay, this is what you said your unit price was, and that's what we're going to deal, that's how we're going to deal with it. Some of these, like, you never know how much rock you might encounter, for instance. and
Right, especially around here.
Particularly around here. You may hit Stone Mountain. But, you know, we definitely, that's one of the reasons why we like to include that, and make sure that there is a way for us to compare apples to the apples, because a site contractor can come in and start jacking up the price if you don't lock that in.
I agree. Well, thank you. Let me just make mention for the citizens. We don't know if this is going to happen, you know, if he's going to encounter rock or whatever. But I'm going to give you a rundown of the things that are going to cost additional money should they encounter them. So you'll have an idea that potentially the 5.2 million is not fixed. It could go up, probably will. Removal of unsatisfactory soil and replacement, that is $65 per unit. Is that like, what's a unit? Anybody know?
So that is, it's usually per yard of material.
Okay.
So I think, but I'm speaking off the top of my head, so
Okay.
please grant me some grace there. I forget what it is off
Absolutely.
the top of my head.
Okay, that's fine. The next one is mass rock excavation, I can't even say that word, and replacement. $135 per unit, again, whatever the unit is. Ductile iron pipe sewer line replacement, $165 per unit. Sod installation, $1.35. So that would tell me they're probably gonna install the sod, right?
Yes.
That doesn't sound like much money.
Yes.
Okay. $7.50, again, doesn't sound like much, to silt fence, what's that?
So that's an erosion control measure fence.
Okay.
So it's the fence that they put up as they're doing site work.
Okay, thank you.
It's usually
I think-
orange or black, usually orange.
It's like what you see
Oh, on the
property.
bottom, on the
No, the
bottom.
whole thing, like when it's got stakes in it so that when it rains, it doesn't run, the soil doesn't run off down the hill.
I know they've got brown over.
Yeah, also
Where,
brown.
where
Yeah.
they, you
Yeah.
know, it's your fence,
Yeah.
Lee, where they're working back there.
Any-
Is it black? I thought it was brown.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
and
thanks.
it's a temporary fence.
Thank
It comes
you.
up when you.
I'm through, I think, with probably your category. Melanie, you want to take some questions now? I
Yeah,
still
because he's
have-
talking about the bid process. I just had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I was a little surprised that the bid opening process was on November 20th, and by the 23rd, you'd already awarded the contract.
Those dates are wrong, Melanie.
Oh,
I didn't-
okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but they,
Okay, because I was just going to say, anything, a project of this magnitude, it usually takes about 2 weeks to level up all your bids. And then, you know, the week before Thanksgiving, to get architects to even answer questions. So if the dates are wrong,
I believe they started in October. if
well,
not
I'm talking about the
mistaken.
day they actually opened them, the bid opening process.
I still think the date.
Was that November the
When I
20th?
read up on it,
Yes, it was November
And then you
20th.
awarded the
Yeah.
contract on the 23rd.
I'm not sure what.
Wednesday, 22nd, I believe.
Yeah,
Sorry, the 22nd.
so, and quite frankly, yes, I was working over the weekend.
Okay.
It is important for us, we are trying to get this library open. We want to be expeditious. We feel like it's taken a long time already, and we want to move quickly. And we're sort of in that period where rain and cold weather can start to affect things, so the earlier a contractor can get started, the better in this period of time, just so that the construction can go more smoothly.
And the bid of 5.2, it says the architect fees and geotechnical testing totaling approximately $405,000. Is that factored into the 5.2, or is that in addition to?
That's an addition to.
That's an addition
yes.
to? Okay, so that's not in there.
Hang on, Melanie, I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Our discussion in this vote is about the IGA. From a point of order perspective, can we stick to what we have control and authority to talk about? Because the bid's been done, the bid's been accepted. I mean, I think that there's meat in the IGA that might need to be discussed. And we're grinding on stuff we have no control.
Well, there's some agreement there. I like for everybody to be as comfortable as they can be and get the information they feel like they need to have. But again, we started this out we're talking about this IGA, that's what we're voting on Thursday. The things that was mentioned that could change the cost is the same things that are mentioned in every construction project anywhere around here when you got Stone Mountain sitting down there. It's no different than any other building that's been built in the last 50 years. Every one of them has to be aware that things can happen that you can't foresee. I mean, that's reality. So, I agree. I wish, if we can go in that direction, I would love that. That's the way we plan to go to start with. Yeah, I'm in charge.
Well, I mean, my questions.
I don't want to be a referee, though.
Well, my questions involve, we're asking to give money to build a library.
No.
I want to know,
You've already done that.
Already done.
but how much are we actually giving at this point?
Give $1.5 million.
And then we have the detention pond. So you gotta.
We're not talking
paying
about.
them.
Correct, right?
So the 375 that we talked about, or the 380 whatever, comes off of the 1.5 million. It's not 1.5 million plus the detention pond. Correct? Am I right?
That's right.
Yes, that's correct.
Need a mic.
So sorry.
Half of the detention pond comes from us, half of the detention pond comes from them, and it comes from them through us paying for it and netting it out of the 1.5.
Correct.
It's still, to this day, 1.5.
But we're gonna be signing a contract here that says that after we sign this contract, this construction grant, they can turn around and go into a meeting and decide to reduce the size of the
That
library.
is something we can discuss.
Then let's
That's part of the
discuss that.
That's part of the IGA,
Okay,
but
then let's discuss that.
the awarding process, the bid process, the page of the contingencies, how much the soil and the sod, that is not part of our purveyance here.
We don't, here's the problem that I see. We take things that are of this magnitude, and the only time we really and truly get to talk about them is in this room. We don't meet, we can't, because we can't have a quorum. So if I'm frustrated, it's because of the process. We get handed this 100 hours ago. First time I've seen it, and it's nobody's fault up here. I was on vacation. I'm still trying to do the best I can, even being on vacation. But in anything we do, and then I get people over here going, well, we already talked about that. Yeah, for 5 minutes in a room. And because there's a majority vote, and I get that, yeah, we are gonna feel a little with our backs up against the wall.
Melanie,
We
we have
never
not-
get to discuss anything.
We have not discussed the library for 5 minutes. I'm so sorry, but that's just not true.
Well, that was a,
I mean, we have talked about this, I mean, and I think, Paul, you sent this out a week and a half ago. I understand you were on vacation, or a week, at least a week ago.
no, well, not really.
Yes, I landed, came back straight from the airport from
December the-
vacation.
yeah, like
and
the-
sent it
the
out to y'all
second, yeah.
on Sunday evening.
A week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunday
So,
a week ago.
And
Eight or
I
9
know
days.
you're on vacation, but I mean, here's the thing. I have some concerns about the IGA as well, and the reduction and how that's gonna work. But I don't think there's anything that could be said about this IGA that would make you vote for it.
Probably not.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna do my job
It's
and my
not
due
about-
diligence.
Oh, I'm not saying
I'm
not
so-
do our
she's-
job, but I just wanna keep it into the scope of which
But I
we
would
have
like to
control.
understand how that's gonna work. We vote to give them the money, then they can go in a room and go, hey.
But we already voted to give him money, $1.5
Well, I
million.
mean, but you know what I'm saying, like, but you can vote for not for this tonight? And it's, you know, you could vote not for this tonight.
Well,
and
you
then-
can, but
then
I'm
what
sure
they
there's
can
going
do.
to be some severe repercussions.
Yeah, I mean, we can vote to not do the IGA, we can ask for
And
there
it
to be
doesn't
some
end, if
adjustments,
that's the
but-
case, it won't end tonight.
But nothing's gonna change the 1.5 million that we've already agreed and voted.
Right, I
to.
got that. I'm not trying to,
Right.
that, I understand that, but I want to understand why we're not being told how big of a library we're going to get before we actually sign a contract.
Well, can I add something to that?
Let me clarify that.
Anybody.
Hang on, let me clarify
Okay,
that,
let me
Mayor.
get started.
All right, go ahead.
Anybody that's building a building, whether it's your home, or whether it's an office building, or whatever it is, they send out what they want. They get back the bids. If they don't have the money for it, it sure as heck can't be built in that same size. So it is conceivable that if we were to come up short, they may have to do some adjustments. I mean, that's part of the business. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the design IGA that we entered into back in September delineated the size of the library. The design IGA also controls the scope of it as it relates to the size, accepting the shortfall that you're now considering. And if y'all want to address and talk about the shortfall issues, you can. And just to be clear, the committee is not the library board. The committee is 2 members of the library board, 2 members of the city, and Mr. Nate from the state. It's 5 folks that have what I would call equal representation, right? Sort of 40-40-20 split. But the size of the library was agreed upon in the last IGA at 10,833 square feet. So that was agreed upon, and y'all already agreed upon it. So it's not accurate to say that we don't know what size library we're getting. Now, there is the discussion, and I know that they're prepared to talk to you about it, and probably also your committee members on that committee are prepared to talk to you about it, is how do you address the shortfall between either raising money or adjusting scope? And I think they're going to talk to you about value engineering solutions, right, which don't mean changing the square footage, but may mean changing the quality of materials, you know, seed versus sod, whatever it is y'all want to talk about. But the size of the library, everybody agreed upon when we took those really big, fancy plans, Exhibit B to the design IGA or Exhibit C, and put them into that design IGA. We've already decided that. Y'all have already decided that.
Council approved that, yes.
Correct.
And it's illegal. You stood up, I put it last session and let everybody know it was a legal issue at this point. And it is.
The bids were based on those design drawings.
Yeah, it's a legal issue. We can't do anything even if we wanted to, I don't think. Correct, Paul? That's true for number 1 and number 2 IGA. I just want to make a observation. For those that complain because we're asking a question or we're doing something, going back a little bit and asking a question that's already been discussed and all that sort of stuff, we spent a lot more time discussing that just now than it took me to ask the questions. Sometimes it's best just to let things roll because everybody should get the opportunity to say what they feel they need to say. A lot of what I say, 99%, is for these people sitting right out here. And I'm not going to let you take that away from me. I don't care if we've discussed it previously or not, because I don't know what they know, how they know it. I don't know if they know that construction normally has overruns. I don't know what anybody knows. So I try and keep it simple. But and I'm wasting more time talking about it, but for the time y'all sat here and went back and forth, we could have moved on and been long into this.
I got to be, if I'm totally honest, most of the questions are coming from people who don't want the library. Let's be fair. That's true. I get offended when I read on social media that somebody feels like the council screwed the citizens of Loganville.
They did.
And by God, that is not proper. We are doing the best job as a council to do the best job for this city. And don't shake your head, Kathy. That's not what you're out there for. You're not part of this conversation.
Hold on, guys. Now we're really getting off the rails.
Yes, we are.
Let's stick to the IGA.
So,
I will start with the IGA and my concern, because I have one. If that's okay with everybody?
Yes,
Yeah,
go ahead.
please.
My frustration, as it was in the last council meeting, was that we approved and moved forward with the IGA in 2022, and the Friends of the Library has raised $100,000 of the $2 million. I don't think that that was the intent. I still stay with what we want. with how it all went down. And Ms. Gray, as you so eloquently put our feet to the fire on our last meeting, I am concerned if we reduce the footprint of the building immediately on phase one, that we'll never get it back to where it should be. And that's something I would like to discuss and address, because I don't know how that happens. It feels like to me that once you decide to build a smaller house, it's never going to get built. You're never going to build onto it. So I would like for y'all to address how that's actually going to happen.
Easy.
If that's appropriate, or if
Okay,
anybody else
thank
has any other comments.
That's fine.
Sorry, we need two mics up here. So yes, thank you for your question. We did, in the design IGA, put the square footage of the 10,833 square foot for phase one, and that's what we bid out, and that's what we're intending to build. Design engineering, comes into play with finishes, with maybe we take the furniture from the current library and use it in the new library for a little bit until we can raise additional funds. The intent is to build the full phase one that was laid out in the design IGA. And again, funding sources, the IGA, the first IGA was November 2023, so I guess they've had about a year since we signed that IGA to do the fundraising. $105,000 is impressive to me. It may not be to you, but I know they're working very hard. And again, applying for the additional $1 million state grant. So, we're sitting at about 1.1 million of additional funds right now to ensure we can get that square footage.
Well, I guess my concern is what you just said. You said our intent is to build the 10,833, and I'm pretty sure that the Friends of the Library's intent was to raise $2 million.
Absolutely.
So where does
Still
that leave
is.
us?
You can adjust the shortfall provision if you want to, and we get agreement from the library board. Because really, you can interpret it that we've already locked this in. Because the size and the scope of it per the design IGA can't change without both library board's approval and y'all's approval. So blame the lawyers who came in on a Sunday after Thanksgiving to get this contract out to y'all. That the shortfall language, the intent of the shortfall language is for value engineering. So if your concern is the size of the scope, number one, I would highly suggest that y'all have discussions with the two board members who are here, both Brandon and Danny, as to their intent. But the intent of the shortfall provision, hang on, let me get it since everybody loves to go by these contracts. Paragraph 6, subsection A, was to address value engineering components. So if you wanted to, if y'all are intent on, if y'all have an interest in passing this construction IGA as drafted with the change, and I can do the change before Thursday, that this budget shortfall concept only allowed to be applied to value engineering components, and that the heated square footage of the project cannot be less than as agreed to in the design IGA, then we can work with the library board to see if they can do that.
I mean, my intent is to pass an IGA for construction, but I like what you just said very much.
I mean, I know where everybody's concern is, but also let's talk practically for a minute, because everybody wants to talk about what may happen, what may not happen. Practically, the shortfall, running my math, right, which is just a lawyer's math, is somewhere around $800,000 to $1 million, $800,000 to $1 million, the shortfall, taking into account the following things: the engineer's fees, landscaping, new FF&E, and their half of the stormwater, okay? And that's not an exact number, that was literally spitballing. So it's between 800 and $1 million. So if you get the $1 million, which you'll know by February, March, end of March from the state legislature, then that shortfall goes away. They've raised it and you build it. If you get it plus the 100,000 they've raised, and maybe they raise another 100,000 between now and then, or 500,000 shortfall. But if the issue is that shortfall language, I don't think the intent of this agreement was ever to say we're just going to build a smaller library, because the design IGA says that we can't without agreement of both the city council and the library board. I think the intent of the shortfall, and Andrea can speak up to this, is value engineering. Okay, we've got a budget problem. We're going to go buy the Home Depot windows instead of the Pella windows, or whatever.
Whatever,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Or we're going to use we're we're going to use used furniture,
Just for a little bit.
you know,
Just for a
instead of
little
new
while.
furniture or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is the intent, but with regard to the calculation of the shortfall, I just want to make sure we're crystal clear and transparent. That total did not include the contingency, and so honestly, for us, we're looking at a $2 million fundraising goal, as we always have been, and so I'd rather put the larger number out there to you all, so that, you know, we could, you know, beat expectations, but just to be clear about what it could potentially be. But yes, the intent is to value engineer and to build the full Phase 1 square footage. Walton County did approve this at their meeting last week, and we approved it at our meeting before. I guess the attorneys would have to figure out if that's a material change or not and would warrant another board vote.
Does your $2 million fundraising, that includes the $1 million grant that you've applied for, or that's in addition
Yes,
to?
no, that's not, that's total. That's our goal total. between
Okay, and
what the-
now I'm confused, because a while ago I thought you said if you would know when you got the grant would be after the masters, and that'd be around
That's
July.
just
But I
when
mean,
the-
is Paul correct that you would know in February or whatever
Well,
he just said?
when the legislature adjourns, right, they would have to vote on this funding before the end of the session. And I just know the session usually ends right before the Masters week, but they could decide earlier. They could
But
vote
do-
on it in January, they could vote on it in February. We can't quite control when they vote.
Mr. Roth, do you know when that they would know if they got that grant or not?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, or excuse me, is this evening now?
It's evening.
And council. Typically, we have an idea around February, March timeframe. The session is a 40-day session. Session usually ends end of April. But we have feelers, and like I said, around February, March, we kind of know what's going to happen.
Do you know the name of that grant, like what it, because
It's a
I'm.
capital outlay grant.
It's the what, I'm sorry.
A capital
Wow,
outlay
like
grant.
this,
It's an
okay.
additional capital outlay grant. When I saw that there was going to be a shortfall, I asked the executive director if they wanted me to help them submit an additional grant for $900,000. It's $900,000 is the grant. The match is $100,000. That's where the million comes from.
Let me ask you this, is it common, you've built 100 libraries, is it common, knowing you're going into a library build that's gonna have a shortfall, is it common to break ground before you do have all your full funding? Because what I'm afraid of is we're gonna start building it, the grant doesn't come in, they don't raise the money, we've got a building that got, and I don't have my glasses on, are you trying to pay attention to what I'm saying, or are you scowling at me? Because I'm not trying to be rude in any way.
That's just the way I look.
Okay,
I'm
I
trying
just
to-
want to make sure, because if you are, I'll try to reword my question.
I'll turn that frown
Okay.
upside down.
Going at her.
Well, I couldn't tell. I don't have glasses to see that far, and I didn't want to make him upset with me. But like, is it common to break ground? Because then you could get so far into a project, they don't get the 900,000, they don't raise any more money, and then everybody will be sitting here knocking on our door going, hey, we got a shortfall, but look at that nice shell of a building over there. What you gonna do about it? I'm really trying, I don't want to have that situation.
And you shouldn't have that situation. The process is we hire a contractor, we go to negotiate pricing. So that's where the value engineering comes from. We will probably value engineer a good portion of this project to meet budget, and then if we have additional funding come in, then we can go back and, rework the engineering that may have come out of the project.
I know, and I'm just gonna be honest, that phrase scares me. Value
phrase?
engineering.
What does it
It
mean?
feels like you're
Value
getting,
engineering means, for instance, I don't know, somebody help me here. We talked about the type of windows. So we're gonna, lighting, we look at lighting,
So, value engineering, the easiest way to think about it is you're trying to figure out if you're removing cost, whether that cost is actually worth removing, if it's actually providing you value, removing it from the project. So let's say you were building this desk up here, and you decided, okay, well, it could be plastic or it could be wood. The plastic is going to be a lot less expensive, but it's going to fall apart in 2 years. The wood is going to be around for 100 years. It makes sense in that particular instance. the value is not there to take the plastic. So sometimes it's a cut, sometimes it's a look at it and say, okay, the value is not there to take that. So the idea is that you are really looking at what you're cutting, making sure that it's of value to remove it from the project. Is that?
That does, because what I was feeling was, we're not going to put in the windows that are going to last 25 years. We're going to put in the windows that last 10 years. And while it looks good on the front end, 10 years from now, we're sitting here coming up with the money anyway. That doesn't make sense to me.
I'll give you a for instance. We have curtain wall called out on the project in some places. There are places where we could actually use storefront with a little bit of redesign to that, and it would make it cheaper. The storefront is just not designed to span as long of a distance. So you just have to redesign it a little bit, but we can get it to the same basic look, and it would be the same basic material. Curtain wall is just a structural component that takes up that whole thing. So, you know, we would try not to compromise quality because that compromises your value.
Are you saying the shortfall you're trying to rectify, is that for the 5.2 or the 5.7? Or are you trying to reduce the total cost? Does that make, am I making sense? Because I'm confused.
It's to build what you have in the bank. That's what value engineer. We know we have 5.2 million, and that's what we're trying to build to.
Okay, and the reason you wouldn't be able to do that is?
Because projects come in more than we bid them out. We think we know what it is, but when the contracts come back, they're higher. Just like the retention pond, we thought it was going to be 350, it came back 536.
So if you get a bid and the bid's accepted, the contractor isn't held to that amount of money?
The contractor's held to the amount, yes, but you reduce the scope of the work to get your contract down to meet budget. Or you give more money. That's the only two options.
Okay.
Pretty much any project we do in the city, or the last project we've done, are always came in higher than we funded. So we value engineer, or we produce more money to keep the same project. That's your two options.
Is there any way, Paul, I think this might be a legal question, that we can put in the IGA to assure our city, i.e. citizens, that the shortfalls, which we already know we have some, we don't know how many, how much, will be borne by the library?
That's already in the agreement. It's
Is
clearly
it?
in the agreement, yes, ma'am.
Where is it? Do you know right off? 'Cause
I do, as a matter of fact. It is in subsection 6, paragraph B. It is the last, or the only sentence, I guess I should say. Then the library system will seek additional funding to cover the shortfall between the new library funding sources and the bid prices awarded for the construction of the project.
That's just if they cannot agree on the reduction though, right?
No, ma'am, it's not.
Oh, well, it's in that same paragraph.
Correct. If they cannot agree on ways to value engineer the project per section 6A, then section 6B will control which places the obligation of the shortfall on the library board, not on the city.
Okay. Period, the end.
Yes, period, the end,
Okay.
again.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
So just,
Oh, go ahead, Bill. Do you have a question?
I do, just looking at the time frame, we've got a bid, we're looking to move forward, and you're putting a completion of December of '25, but obviously we've got other funding that's got to come in. So how realistic are we looking at as far as the timetable, when does, we know in February, we're going to have a good feeling, how this process is going. And really that's to Nate. I mean, you've done 100 of these things. You've had certainly similar scenarios. Is this time frame, is it still a reasonable? I'm not saying it's perfect, but is it reasonable?
It's reasonable. I mean, this is a 10,000 square foot building. Typically a 10,000 square foot building, 9 months, 12 months, somewhere around that time frame. It's a simple design. It's an open plan, so there's not a whole lot of construction of walls and all that inside the building, so I see that easily happening.
Okay.
I have a question about the allocation of the funds. 3 million first, 1.5 second, then the county, 1.2, I believe it is, right? Of the 1.5, when do we get our money back that we've paid on behalf of the library? Oh, well, the detention pond comes to
They're gonna
mind.
deduct it from the
When?
1.5.
When?
So we don't pay it to them then. We deduct it from my liability. Is that not
Yes,
right?
that was addressed in the second IGA. in the
I could not
design
find that, Paul. You told me that. I couldn't find it.
Okay,
But
I'll read you that one if you'd like me to. Hang tight.
okay, so immediately, basically.
The parties agree that the cost of the initial acquisition, design, construction, and installation of the off-site stormwater detention system shall be equally shared between the parties, and the library system may utilize the local funding sources budgeted as part of the new library project to pay for its portion of the same. Put in layman's terms,
Yeah,
not
please.
lawyers' terms, as we said, when we passed this design IGA in September of this year, the stormwater portion of the money, the half that is the library's obligation, will net out of the 1.5 million in ARPA funds that your prior council approved to spend on the library.
Okay, I think my question is, when will it net out? I mean, we're going to get the detention pond potentially voted on.
Our outflows are never going to exceed 1.5.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's just real
Okay.
simple, 1.5.
So
your
we're not going to
concern-
fund it for some point in the future to get our money. We're going to, I just want to make sure that we're not going to pay 700 and whatever it is for the detention pond, and then 6 months later get, you talking, Danny?
Yeah, you've already got the 1.5 million.
1.5 is our money now in the bank.
And you've already spent some of the money, some of their half money towards the detention pond in the acquisition of the dirt.
Right, yes.
And you will probably, and engineering, and you will, if you vote on that detention pond item on Thursday and approve that, then whenever that project is completed and Danny writes a check to whomever won the bid, then that money will come out of that 1.5 million ARPA allocation.
Okay, so there are no delays, in other
I
words?
think your concern may be, as we're going along, if we haven't done the detention pond, and we're paying them back, and then we're at 1.4, but we haven't allocated for the 375 grand. So the 1.5, almost that 375 kind of comes off the top, and you would not reimburse them more than
That's
the
what-
1.5 less their half of the detention.
And that's because of your
I'd like to say a couple things about being on the committee with Danny and Nate. It's very good being on the committee with somebody who's built over 100 libraries. So when I have questions, I talk to Nate. He gets them. He understands that this is nothing I haven't encountered before. He's the man with the plan. He's got, was it Nate the Great or Nate from the state? Either one. Really good man, very knowledgeable. I feel like sometimes me and Danny are there just to smile and make sure the city's in the room. But with that said, I do have a question for you, Nate, because I know we've talked about this previously, but I want to make sure everybody on the council knows this. How often can you apply for these grants to the state? And I ask this for future, say we get this library done, say we have some money left over, or when could we start on doing the next phase?
There's no limitation on how many times you can go to the hole or to the bank. You have to have support, so you have to have legislative support. And typically, there's discussion prior to an application being submitted if a legislator was going to support that. I've had projects go back 3 and 4 times. I've had other projects ask, and I've had legislators say, no, don't ask. We're done. So, but there's no, I'm not going to look at anyone and say, no, I'm not going to accept your application.
Awesome, because I asked that question because it was asked to me earlier this week, how long until the next one? And if we go ahead and use this money on this project, the state may not want to give us money when it comes to expansion. And I said that,
This particular project is designed as a phased project, so
Yes.
everyone knows that we are doing a first phase, and then in the future, we'll do another phase. We don't know when that second phase is gonna happen. It could happen 2-3 years from now. But that shouldn't be a problem. We're not going to we're not gonna deny an application that comes to us.
and you're not retiring anytime soon, right?
I'm not gonna deny an application that comes to me.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
And also, being on this committee, we've never once talked about, I think we all understand value engineering at this point, so I don't want to belabor that fact, but it never once came up through our committee that we were going to reduce the scope of the size of the building. We're going to fight for every square inch we can, because that's one of the biggest things about the other library is it's not a lot of, all the square footage isn't usable currently, while this one, we're trying to get it built and designed so every square inch is utilized. So we are gonna fight for every square inch. So we're not, like, I know we might want to change some language. I don't know if that's worth it or not. If that's what council wants to do, that's fine. But just know going in, even if that doesn't change, me and Danny, and I think the rest of the committee aren't gonna change the size of the footprint.
Intent, Brandon, means nothing in a legal environment, to me, anyway. I can intend to do all sorts of things, but if the legal contract says you're allowed to do it, then pinch comes to shove, you're allowed to do it. And we're sitting here going, but this, blah, blah, blah. I think if we want to change that, we need to do it in writing to make sure we are legally protected.
That's fine. That's what I said. If that's what council wants to do,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. I just don't know that would be for the lawyers to discuss how to do that and get back to us, but I'm sure it might not be the end of the world. But I just wanted to know our intent of doing that. We never once had a conversation about reducing the size of what was in the first
How did it
few
get in,
IGAs.
how did it get in the IGA then? Who put that in there?
I'll rehash that one for you again, too. Sunday
Again,
night,
thank
came
you,
home from a
Paul.
9-day vacation, came in late to the office to be able to get this IGA out to you guys, because I knew you were going to be concerned about it. So here's what we can do. Andrea and I can discuss this issue. Intent does matter in the law, and I understand what y'all's intent is. You don't want the square footage to go down, but everybody understands the reality that there is a potential shortfall sitting here now, and we need to do some value engineering. Andrea and I will discuss it, and I will communicate with you before Thursday on the issue. I think that there's two potential approaches. One could be to modify that section 6A, but we do have to think about other boards that have passed it. I think the other reality of it is that we could read the design IGA and this construction IGA in tandem, because you do that very much so in legal interpretation. And the design IGA says that we cannot reduce the size of the footprint of the project without approval from both boards. So we'll get back to you on it. I do hear what I think is the council's intent on it, is that you don't want the size shrunk, but you understand that value engineering is going to have to be a component of the project, potentially, unless, 1 million and more comes through the pipeline between now and next summer.
Is that, that's my position. Are you guys, how do you feel about it? Lisa and Brandon, you okay with
100%.
that?
I think the scope needs to be left out. I don't think it should be reduced. I don't think it should be hanging out there as a
That's
option.
already in it, that it can't be reduced.
That's in the design IGA currently, that's
right.
correct. But I understand the confusion about the difference between the two. And give Andrea and I, because I have nothing else to do tomorrow, give Andrea and I 24 hours to work on it, and we will circle back with some input for you on which is the best path to take on that.
It's my understanding the county has already approved this.
The county and the library board have both already approved this agreement as presented.
That doesn't put us where we have to, correct?
That's right.
No, ma'am, it does not.
Okay.
But I would prefer to take a vote on Thursday as it's written. A lot of thought, a lot of effort's gone into this. we're covering everything from 10 different directions. Time to move on with it.
Well, maybe we need to vote on that then.
So you don't want to modify it?
I don't see the need. I really don't.
It doesn't bother me either way. If the attorney tells us it doesn't need it, then I'm fine with that as well. But if it's something council wants to do, I'm fine with it either way.
Same.
But Paul, if it's changed, does it not have to go back to the library board and have to go back to the county?
That's why I'm asking you to give me 24 hours to give you insight on that. I think that's debatable. I think you could, that is a legitimate debate. I think Andrea and I need a little bit of time to process that.
Fair enough.
And we can give you that I'll give you that opinion in an email tomorrow sometime before the day is out, on what Andrea and I are able to put our heads together on. I think that there's a legitimate argument either way.
And that's not something we can just cover in an emotion then, is it? I mean, if we were,
Yes, y'all can cover it in a motion, but the issue is whether or not we got to go back to the other adopting bodies for them to adopt the revised agreement. That's the issue.
no, what I was wondering is you're saying that previous agreement said this is the size. We're in thinking that this is okay, is it not, if we were to go make our motion, not just to approve it, but to say, hey, just reiterate that it is tied to the other one, that the size still counts?
Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of what my plan is to flesh it out with Andrea and probably even have email communique between the lawyers with that understanding to further solidify it, because intent does matter in interpretation of contracts.
Okay. That's fair enough. If, Paul, if you're okay with this, I would like to go ahead and do the public comment before we go into executive session, because I know once we leave here for executive session, there's going to be very few faces left with us. So this is a time where everyone with the public has an opportunity to speak whatever they have on their mind. Time 5 minutes.
Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Colin.
Yes, Ms. Davis?
Don't plot me till I make it up here.
You better get on. You're fine.
I ain't got my scooter with me.
No, you're fine.
Hello, City Council and Mayor, Attorney, City Manager, and sweet thing. I'm Joyce Davis, 4421 Pecan Street. Earlier, I made a kind of like a survey, I guess. I went door to door. A lot of people didn't even know about a library that was supposed to go up. A lot of them wondered why they couldn't just tear down the old one if it was that bad and build a new one right there. But the majority of them didn't like it being on Main Street, where they was afraid when it's all finished that they might be in a big financial place that they can't afford. So I think that we need to know in the future, how much is all of this going to end up costing the residential citizens who pay their tax and whatever, like y'all. So I wonder about that too. But now here is the thing. I've lived a lot of years. I've done a lot of business. I've been in great business places myself. Common sense. This is just my common sense. No law, no this or that. I would not consider a groundbreaking until all the funds from here and here and there and back there and the promises and everything are put in a pot, and then proceed with what's to be going on. Because if you get the cart before the horse, which I feel has already been took place, it can go nowhere but downhill. So as an elder senior citizen, I'd like for y'all to take what I just said, if you understand it, to heart when you come Thursday to vote on the construction, how the citizens of this town do not want it. Not saying they don't want a library. They don't want the construction there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathy, you had your hand up?
My name's Kathy Swanson. I live at 904 Lee Bird Road. I think that we all know that the library's coming. I think that Skip, Brandon, Lisa, I don't think you understand where a lot of the citizens are coming from. It's not the point that there's going to be a library. It's the point that we weren't included. We weren't given updates. The first IGA was shoved down our throat the night before the election. The second IGA came out, and you decided on the design. Nobody showed us. We didn't have any idea until the council meeting. We had originally one piece of property given, and then we turned around and gave them another piece of property, and nobody knew about it. I think the biggest problem is, whether it be federal, state, whether it be local, whether it be city, all of this is taxpayer funded. The government does not generate income. So all of it is taxpayer funded, and we have the right to know. We have the right to be kept informed. We have the right to be updated. We have the right to have our questions answered. And so I think I've talked to maybe 3 people that have actually said, I don't want a library. Most of them have said, I don't understand what's going on, because nobody will tell us. Nobody will keep us updated. So we think you're just up here making decisions, not telling us what's going on, not telling us what's going on behind closed doors. And the bottom line is we're footing the bill. And we're going to foot the bill, and we're going to pay for the maintenance and whatever else goes wrong in the future. And so it is our business. It is our business to be kept informed and to be kept updated, not just the library, on everything, because it's taxpayer money that you're spending. And the accountant in me says, Ann, you have your own business. Brandon, you have your own business. Paul, you have your own business. The rest of you all run your households. You don't pay bills if you don't have the money. And so the accountant in me says, how can you build this if you don't have the money and or financing in place to cover the shortfall? And it just boggles my mind. So I just want you to know to be not so anti-citizens that talk about on the internet, and I'm one of them, on the Facebook pages about what's going on. We don't understand. We're not being kept informed. Don't think bad of us. We want to know. We want to be kept informed. And when we aren't kept informed, we get mad. We get mad because we think that we elected you to do what we want as taxpayers, and we're footing the bill. The bottom line is we're footing the bill, and we want you to be held accountable for that.
I don't disagree with you. We would love to be able to communicate better. One of the things is if what we would love to have as a community, we would love to have this room filled every time so people can learn. We try to get the words out to the citizens. I don't know what else we could do. I just don't.
I don't know what the answer is either. I mean, I put it out there all the time.
And it's not just
Don't
Loganville,
complain
it's-
if you don't come to the meetings.
This is everywhere.
It is, but I just want you, the council, I don't want to say be more lenient with us, but realize that we want to know, and we have the right to know.
And when we don't know is when we get mad and we spout off and we spew all this stuff online. I mean, we're mad, we're frustrated because we don't get answers, and we want answers. We just want you to keep us updated. When the construction starts, keep us updated. Just let us know. Put out a thing on the library Facebook page and say, hey, this is what's going on. We've laid the foundation. We're getting ready to do this. It would go so much further in helping the citizens know what's going on and understand it. Just let us know. Keep us informed, and we'll be happy. I mean, had you kept us informed all along, nobody would be complaining. We'd be like, okay, we'll take it. We'll deal with it. That's how we all do it. That's how we all deal with life. We'll take it, we'll deal with it, and we'll move forward. But when you don't tell us, we don't know. And we say, oh, they're keeping secrets. They're hiding stuff. They're behind closed doors. They're making secret meetings. They're making decisions. That's what we think.
Well, rest assured, the council is not going to break any laws.
It's not a point about breaking
We have the
laws.
sunshine laws in this state.
It's not about breaking laws,
Yes,
Skip.
it is, because we're not hiding anything.
But when you don't tell us and you bring things out that come out in meetings, and we think, oh, where did that come from?
I don't
We're
want to
keeping
put
things from
words
us.
in her mouth, Skip. I believe it's a perceived, not actual, it's a perceived notion. And I do agree, we do need to communicate better. And
Yeah,
I-
just come out and tell us what's going on. We'll handle it. We'll say, okay, we may agree, we may disagree. That's okay, too.
That's
We can
fine.
agree
Okay.
to disagree.
Well, I would
But just
mention this
keep
for
us
the folks
informed.
watching on YouTube. It is disappointing when citizens say that they want to know more, but when you have an election for 3 council members, less than 8% of the registered voters vote. Now,
That's sad.
where does that go?
That's sad.
I don't know an answer.
I don't either.
I wish I
don't
did.
either. I'm just talking about the ones that are paying attention.
A few years
Okay.
ago, we paid extra money in the city. We sent out a list of all the events in a given year because everybody said they wanted to have them in their hands. Well, come to find out that money spent, we just did it once because everybody told us, I don't know what you're talking about. We put them in the water bills. Everybody in town gets a water bill. But they take the water bill out and they chuck everything else. And if it's anything that they need to see, they don't see it. So I don't have an answer. I wish
I agree. People don't pay attention and then they complain. I agree with that. I
happens.
agree. I'm just talking about those of us that are paying attention. We just want to be kept informed.
Kathy, give me a call and we'll talk about the library tomorrow. I'll
Okay.
tell you everything you want to know.
I don't really want to know a whole lot more. I just want to know before I come to a council meeting that it's like in our face coming up to be discussed. But I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, sir, Mike.
My name's Michael Brown, and I'm the president of the Friends of the O'Kelly Memorial Library. This person just before me, this fine lady, talked about communicating, and we recognize that there's a need for that, and we're trying to do a better job on Facebook, and there have been articles recently in the Gwinnett Daily News about one of the sponsors. We had a photo session in the library. We also had it in the Walton Tribune. There's a great article in the Insider, in the Loganville Insider, this fall and spring issue with a lot of pictures and everything. Now that we have some documentation and some representation about what the library will look like, I think momentum is gaining as far as contributions go. So as far as the shortfall goes, I'm all for value engineering, and if that means we got to reduce the size, then I think the option of not doing anything with this library would be disastrous. We really wouldn't have a usable library in our city with this construction at the intersection of Highway 20 and 78. So I think it's important that we move forward because I don't see that we have an option. As far as the shortfall goes, and I'll take the responsibility for not coming up with the $2 million. We're working we're working hard on that. But I just submitted, just put in the post office an application for the Walton County Foundation for $150,000 for the landscaping. We've applied to them before. They I think there's some momentum there, and there's other community leaders that we plan to get in touch with. So I think you'll see the contributions from the Friends go up. You know, I certainly can't commit to $1 million, but we're going to do the best we can, and we do have some committed people, and I do commit to try to do better in the communications department. Okay?
Thank you.
Michael, I have a request. So I was talking to Brandon earlier today, and we were looking at the Facebook group for the Friends of the Library.
Yes.
It's not obvious how to donate. I think it was 3 posts down, and it was Friends of the Library as a Venmo link.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
But it looked like when you clicked that, it looked like it was for dues. Is that the link that you click also if you want to donate to the capital campaign?
Yes, anything that goes into that Venmo account goes into the Friends account at the Legacy State Bank. But it's really designed for membership. It's $20 a membership for an individual and $35 for a family. That's what that Venmo was designed for. But yes, we'll certainly take any contribution. So maybe we need to make that more clear.
Yeah, because I mean, I'd like to there's people that want to donate, and I don't know how to, I mean, the website doesn't have anything on it. We need to know how to, I mean, I'd like to get the word out to other businesses.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Mike, for volunteering and doing this, because this guy wrote a book. He's a very good author, and every dollar that he raises with that book is contributed to the Friends of the Ocala Library.
Yeah, I'm working on $1 million, so. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Lee?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lee Phillips. I live at 4421 Pecan Street with my mother, Joyce Davis. I want to give y'all a little bit of a different perspective that I've not heard anybody talk about, but that I consider is a serious problem for our town. If you look at what is under the surface, we are at Pecan Street, a granite cap covered with just a few feet of soil. That cap drops off sharply towards Covington Street. We all know the lot that's across that we are debating on what to put on. You see the angle of the parking lot that is there. And where the pecan trees are on the back side of that lot, you see that the lower lots, the bank has been dug out, which creates a even steeper shelf. Now, the soil content that is above this granite is soft clay sediment left over from the glaciers that ground down all the material that is in our whole area. That is how we have Stone Mountain exposed, because of the glaciers that ground off all the material. Our soil is the leftovers from that grinding. It is sitting on top of this bedrock. Shallow distance. We know that it's a shallow distance because the house at the end of our street at Bobby Boss has the cap of the granite actually coming up out of the ground under his house. Where the driveway is going to the water tower, the power company could not set a new pole to replace the old pole for the new 3-phase power because they could only go down a foot or two before that they hit granite rock, which they could not penetrate. Down towards our house, this sediment gets deeper. At the back of the new addition building that we have in downtown, the steel supports had to have reinforcement rods driven down to the bedrock 22 foot down on each corner to stabilize the ground because of the fissures that were found in the ground where water has been traveling and washing out the soil. There's a telephone pole at the corner of our property. I just made a video of it. I have made many videos. Some of you might have seen them. They are direct and to the point. We have a problem with land subsidence where our ground sitting on top of the granite rock has the moisture layer that is causing the ground to slowly drift down towards Covington Street. Now, I know people don't want to talk about this because this is a very costly issue and everything has to do with money. But what are we going to do when Wayne Hurst Building collapses because the ground in that area is shifting down towards Covington Street? This problem is being exacerbated by the excess heavy traffic of trucks that are rumbling down Main Street and causing the vibrations in the soft clay that cause it to move more down the slope of the granite cap. These are not made up things in my mind. I have an extensive background in construction, residential and commercial, and also in commercial and residential wiring. These things I don't speak of lightly because I understand the financial concerns that go behind this. But if we don't correct the main problem, it's going to get worse. Now, Covington Street sits in a bowl. When you fill this bowl up with water because of a retention pond and you raise the level of the water table in this lower area, it causes even the water table in the upper area going up this slope to increase, which increases the slidability of the land. Eventually, all the land from Pecan Street towards Covington Street and from Main Street.
That's the 5-minute time
It is
limit.
moving downhill and
10 more seconds.
and it will continue.
Okay. Thank you, Lee. I hope it's 100 years from now, 300 years from now.
No, it will be
No.
quickly because I have seen over the past 10 years, this movement has exponentially increased. And you can see it in the structure, how the cracks have increased.
Very good. Thank you, Lee. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Can we have a motion to adjourn and we'll go into executive session? Have a motion to adjourn. Have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Raise your hand. Everybody agrees? And the meeting is adjourned and we'll go into executive session and we'll be back and we're being told about 20 minutes. 10. Bathroom, I guess. They probably need surgery. And it ain't easy.
It gets worse tonight.
Maybe Thursday after we vote.
There you go.
Okay, we need a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. Second. All in favor, say aye by raising your hand. Patty?
I got it. I did.
Okay, we're back in regular session. We went into executive session on a real estate matter, and we need a motion of what we are planning on doing on that matter. Lisa?
Say go, Lisa, go.
We good?
Here we go.
Rock it.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the donation of approximately 3.774 acres of land located here in the city of Loganville along Conyers Road from Darren P. Britt, W. Stacy Britt, and Deanna B. Williams. Specifically, the land being donated that we're accepting are the following tax map parcels. Tax map parcel LG 060049 containing .313 acres, more or less. Tax map parcel LG 060050 containing .406 acres, more or less. Tax map parcel LG 060052 containing .857 acres, more or less. Tax map parcel LG 060053 containing .813 acres, more or less. Tax map parcel LG 060054 containing .584 acres, more or less. Tax map parcel LG 060055 containing .801 acres, more or less. My motion further authorizes the mayor and the city administrator to sign any and all documents necessary to effectuate this donation, including the relevant tax documents presented by the donor.
Okay. Any of the council like for her to repeat that? We good with that? Good job. We have a motion. We have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please vote by showing your hand. Okay, it's 6-0. So we are accepting that donation, and Paul will finalize the paperwork shortly, and we'll move on. We need a motion to adjourn from this session, please. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, show of hands. Okay, it's unanimous. Meeting is concluded. And Greg voted with us too. 7-0. Thanks, everybody.